Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into the paradox of Finland's world-renowned education system and trying to figure out what makes it so darn successful. So you've probably heard this before, right? For years, Finland has just been crushing it in international rankings like the PISA assessments, which measure how students are doing all over the globe. And because of that, a lot of people think they've found some kind of magic formula for schools that everyone should just copy. But here's the wild part. According to Pasi Sahlberg, one of the main guys behind the system, Finland never even tried to be number one. He actually thinks that the global obsession with being the best is exactly what's holding other countries back. Okay, so let's really get into this, because that's the big question, isn't it? This question opens up a whole different philosophy about what school is even for. They're not just playing the game differently, they're playing a completely different game altogether. The first thing you have to understand, and this is absolutely crucial, is that Finland's main goal isn't to create a few super smart, high-scoring students. Their number one goal is to balance social inequality. They see education as a tool to build a fairer society for everyone. And this simple but really powerful idea has been their guiding light for the last 40 years, and it changes everything. Instead of asking, how can we make our top students even better, they're asking, how do we guarantee that every single kid gets a fantastic education? And look, this isn't just some nice mission statement they hang on a wall. They actually do it. Education is free, from daycare all the way through university. Every kid gets a free, healthy meal at school every single day. And they have easy access to healthcare and counseling right there in the school building. It's all about knocking down barriers to learning before they even become an issue. And you can see it in the numbers. Pasi Sahlberg points out this really strong connection. Societies with less income inequality tend to do better in education. So you see countries like the US with higher inequality getting pretty average results, while Finland's low inequality is tied directly to its high scores. Their success in school is deeply connected to their commitment to a fair society. So how on earth do you pull off a goal like equity? Well, Finland made a choice that seems kind of radical to a lot of us. They built the entire system on trust. Specifically, trusting their teachers. Completely. Get this, there are no high-stakes, mandated, standardized tests. None. Except for one optional exam at the very end of high school. So instead of teaching to the test, teachers are trusted as professionals to create their own ways to assess how their students are doing. Now, you might be thinking, how can you possibly trust them that much? Well, this trust works because being a teacher in Finland is a huge deal. It's a high-status profession, right up there with being a doctor or a lawyer. Every single teacher has to have a master's degree, and getting into a teaching program is incredibly competitive. They're attracting the best of the best. And what happens when you treat teachers with that much respect? You get staggering public confidence. I mean, look at this. Only about 29% of Americans say they trust their public schools. In Finland, that number is around 90%. The public trusts the system because they trust the professionals who are running it. I love this quote from Sahlberg because it just flips the whole script. In a lot of places, accountability means more tests, more oversight, more top-down control. But he's basically saying that's just what you do when you don't have real responsibility. If you prioritize professional responsibility from the start, all that other stuff becomes kind of pointless. And all this stuff, this focus on trust and equity, it's not just some abstract idea. It completely changes what a school day actually feels like for a kid. It creates a much more relaxed and healthy environment, which, it turns out, is also way more effective for learning. So a Finnish school day just looks different. It often starts later, maybe around 9:45 a.m., which we know from research is way better for teenage brains. The whole day is shorter. And get this, for every 45 minutes of class, students get a 15-minute break to go play and just recharge. And this focus on well-being is everywhere. Formal school doesn't even start until you're 7. Kids often have the same teacher for years, so they build these really deep, trusting relationships. And things like vocational schools are treated with just as much respect as the path to a university degree. Oh, and homework? Yeah, about that. Finnish students have the least amount of homework in the developed world. We're talking an average of just 30 minutes a night. The whole idea is that learning should happen at school, leaving evenings free for family, hobbies, and rest. All the other stuff that's also essential for growing up. So, when you put all of this together, you start to see the real lesson here. Finland isn't just tweaking the system or using a few clever tricks. They are operating from a completely different playbook, one based on a totally different set of values. Salberg actually has a name for the approach that's become super popular in places like the US and the UK. He calls it GERM, which stands for the Global Education Reform Movement. He sees it as this infectious idea that's based on market competition, and he argues that it has consistently failed to make things better. And when you put the two paths side by side, the difference is just crystal clear. The GERM way is all about competition, standardization, and accountability through tests. The Finnish way, it's all about collaboration, personalization, and trust in professionals. One is about top-down control, the other is about empowerment. And this quote from a Finnish writer just nails it, doesn't it? Real winners do not compete. It's so ironic. By refusing to get into that global race to be number one, and by focusing instead on building something better for their own kids, they accidentally ended up at the top of the pack anyway. So in the end, the Finnish paradox really holds a mirror up to the rest of us. It forces us to ask a really big question about our own values. What do we actually want our schools to do? Is the point to create a competition with a few winners and a lot of losers? Or is it to make sure everyone has what they need to build a good life? Finland made its choice and, well, the results kind of speak for themselves.